far. Let me just do the socials. And then we will get started. Let's see. Friday. So, remember when I said that I wanted to be more creative with my streams as one of my New Year's resolutions? So I tried to make this dessert from Macau that I remember from my childhood. And my mom put me and my little sister into like this baking class. So, hi, Vasily. Welcome. How are you doing? So I wanted to do more creative streams, right? So I wanted to recreate this like dessert that I made because I'm thinking about maybe doing like cooking streams, like dishes, not just like Western dishes, which I usually do, but like Asian dishes. So I did my first try because I haven't cooked this probably in I don't know how many years, at least a decade. I'm good. My little sister's arriving later this afternoon, so I'm really excited to see her. It's been a minute. And we're gonna go celebrate my birthday next weekend, not this weekend, in New York City. So it'd be great to have her. So it's basically a layered dessert. And the source of this is from Macau. I don't know, I used kind of like, so basically it's layer of crushed like graham crackers or any sort of like sweet crackers. I use kind of the digestive crackers, the British ones. If you have a food processor, it's better, but I hand mashed these. And then I did a layer of whipped cream, store-bought, not freshly made whipped cream, which is better. And I mixed it with a little bit of condensed milk. So I spread that, and then you repeat. And then you freeze it. But when I first made it, hi Funeral! When I first made this dessert, I made the whipped cream fresh, and I added a little bit of vanilla and all that kind of stuff. So it's always better than having store-bought. But I hadn't made this in years, so I didn't want to make a huge mess either, because my little sister is arriving this afternoon, basically right after stream. So I did it the easy way. So I'm gonna try that after it's pretty frozen. It's cold. You're supposed to freeze it. I'm gonna eat a little bit of my lunch because it's almost noon here, and then I'm gonna eat the dessert, and then I'll show you guys. And maybe if you're interested, Vasily, if you like layered sweets and desserts, maybe I can do like a cooking stream or a baking stream where we make them. And then to make it interesting, maybe a few streams before, I can put on Discord and Patreon. Thanks for the sub, Chloe. I could put on Discord or Patreon like what you guys want me to do, or what you want me to wear while I'm cooking it. Anything special or fun. So yeah, I wanna do something that's like Asian centered, especially from like the SAR regions, because I already cook a lot of white people food because I'm in America. It's really hard to find Asian, especially if you're not in New York or LA, to find like proper Asian ingredients. So it'll be, just be reasonable. What happened to Hasan? Well, there's been a lot of drama with Hasan. We will be covering it. Multiple different types of drama, because he platformed one of the Houthi people, rebels that hijacked the ship. But he platformed the guy who went viral because he was really handsome and kind of like was like, the meme was like he's the Houthi Timothy Chalamet. And yeah. Yeah, so we're going to be covering that. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of Suika, obviously, so we can see if we can reach double watermelon as people trickle in, and then we'll switch over to Hasan. Vasily, when you say Asian, what region are you talking about? I'm talking about like Southeast Asia, Hong Kong and Macau region, but I'm open to doing like Japanese food too. I've cooked a lot of that, especially Japanese curry, which is my favorite type of curry. I'm open to cooking Thai. I'm not a big fan of Vietnamese or Singaporean. I'd love to like learn how to cook dim sum, but that's really, really hard. And I want to do a couple of tries before I do a stream on that, because I don't want to completely fail. But if you guys have any specific dishes that you like, you can put it on Discord, and I can do some research into it and see how easy the ingredients are to find. Southeast Asia is Indonesia, Vietnam, Taiwan, Philippines, etc. But I guess Macau and Hong Kong are close enough. No, Hong Kong and Macau are definitely Southeast Asia. I am from there. That is what we refer to ourselves as. Hong Kong is technically part of China now, but it's an SAR, so is Macau, the Special Administrative Region. So it's supposed to be one country, two systems, but China has really cracked down on the two systems part. So yeah, I would say Hong Kong it's in any meaningful sense, kind of like Taiwan. Hong Kong is treated as a separate country, separate culture, language, currency, legal system. We used to have more freedom of speech, so all that stuff. We have freedom of we have access to internet, and we also there's a border, different passports. If you're trying to ship things over seas to Hong Kong, you have to select Hong Kong as a country, not China. So in all meaningful senses, we're treated by the international community as a different country, but for technicalities on a piece of paper, just like Taiwan, we're part of China, part of the mainland. Asia is complicated, no one agrees with anything. Asia is complicated, yes. I'd say the Middle East is more complicated, but Asia is definitely complicated too. I technically live in Asia. You live in Central Asia, right, Funeral? I think I recall from it might have been someone else, but really far back in a different stream that we talked about this. So it's like Kosovo and Serbia situation. I don't know about the Kosovo and Serbia situation, but there was a Serbian dude that came in last stream that ended up being banned. That was a trip that you missed, Vasily. You live in the Middle East. Okay. Wait, but you said you technically live in Asia. But people were and in West Asia. So what is the delineation between West Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East? What is the proper international technical line? You know? Because I feel like each country, wherever they are, they refer to themselves in a certain way. Yeah, you missed an angry Serb. He was really angry. Apparently he messaged one of my subs privately after he got banned and kept insulting him. So yeah, you missed an angry Serb. Alright, let's pull up my Suika game. Because we're trying to get double watermelon here. Yesterday we finally got a watermelon on stream. After the update, which I did not think that I was gonna get. But we did. So I'm very happy about that. Let's see. So now we're on to double watermelon. And I don't want to practice like off stream, like I said, when I was trying to get that watermelon, because I didn't want it to, I wanted to get it on stream. And knowing me, if I were to practice offline, it's gonna happen offline. Let's change the cap. How is everyone doing, by the way? What have you guys been up to today so far? There is no international line to divide Asia. The only thing that everyone agrees with is the ex-Soviet states in Asia are Central Asia. All right, so the Baltic states are firmly considered Central Asia. Okay. I mean, what's the difference between Central Asia and like West Asia? Like, what countries consider themselves West Asia versus, Central Asia? Kind of like what you just said, Vasily, how like Hong Kongers identify as Southeast Asia. And it's like technically borderlining both regions. So it really depends on the people who live there, what they their culture identifies themselves as. West Asia is the Caucasus and the Caucasus Mountains in the Middle East, I guess, but none of them claim to be in Asia. Dude, Asia is so big. Like, could they make a bigger continent? You know what I mean? So since nobody agrees on like the delineation, would you start identifying the delineations, how people look like, or what religion they believe in? Okay, I need to eat my food so I can dig into that dessert, because I don't know what's gonna happen if it starts melting. The what? The what needs to nerf Asia? What are you talking about? Exactly, right? When people refer to Asian, they refer to people who kind of look like me. Like, even when you say Asian, well, at least in America, they don't even think like Indians are Asians. Like when you say to the cops, well, what's their race? When you say Asian, they think about Asians who look like me. They don't think about like Indians, which is really fucked up and ignorant. But like, that's just how it works. And I have ancestors who came from Polynesia, so the Pacific Islands. So that's why I don't look like a typical like northern Chinese. Because I take after my mother. What's the devs? Who are the devs? It's a joke talking about stuff like the developers. Yeah. That's curious, you know. I think last night it was Owen that was upset about Hasan, and I know a lot of people are upset about Hasan too. So we're definitely going to cover that drama. What do you guys think about him platforming, you know, a Houthi? Hasan is the largest left-wing political streamer in the world, I would say. What a lot of people say, Funeral. A lot of people agree with you that it wasn't a good move for him. But I bet it was content. I still haven't watched the stream itself. That when the part of the stream that he did have the person on, but because I haven't had time. But I will. Very influential. I still don't know how he got that Houthi guy to come on. But I guess that Houthi guy has access to TikTok, so that's how he blew up. Oh, man, I hate that. I'm gonna wait for that to drop. The key to this game, I find, is that sometimes you gotta let things move by themselves. It might take a while, and you might not be able to see on stream, but like it's like shaking. These like fruits are shaking, and like slowly that cherry on the left is gonna fall and merge into a strawberry, and that strawberry is gonna touch and merge into a grape. Just watch. You just have to be patient in this game. Someone so influential I've never heard of must be living under a rock. No, I don't think so. I think you need to be watching like a lot of like left-wing stuff to get like suggested by him, because a lot of big corporations don't like him because he's, you know, his viewpoints are against them. Okay, I'm gonna let that drop. Okay. Left wing is like the Democrats versus the Republicans in the United States, but he's like a self-espoused, like, I think communist, socialist, Marxist, I don't know. Like that type of left wing. Yeah, baby. Yes. I don't know how it works politically wise in Serbia. Maybe you can enlighten the stream and lurkers. My My dessert is still looking good. Still cold. I mean, I know about the political compass and how it works, but in the US they divide it into 2, not 4. No. Just 2, unfortunately. Once I warm up a bit, I'll take off my socks. It's just very, very cold right now in Atlanta. Are there 4 political parties in Serbia? Yeah, it is a recipe for disaster. But those people who have the power, that control the power and the politics in this 2-party system, isn't going to let, like, their power be diluted by expanding the number of political parties. Do you know what I mean? Like, people who have power are reluctant to, like, let go. Which is human nature. Wait, you're not Serbian? And doesn't that make it easier for a civil war? Yeah, probably. Probably. That's why we've had a civil war in the past. But I'd say, like, now in the modern politics, I'd say, like, within the 2 parties, there's, like, multiple factions. There's technically like a Green Party and a Libertarian Party or Independent Party. Well, Independent Party. There's technically a Green Party, but those people never get elected, never get a majority of the vote. It's always just the 2 big parties. And then there's like an independent. The only successful modern independent is Bernie Sanders. I thought you live in Serbia. Vote for Bernie? He's not running for president, unfortunately. We screwed him over twice. He's probably just like, I'm tired. Running for president is like a hard job. I don't know who I'm gonna vote for. There are no good candidates. They all suck. When you drop it right in the right spot. Uh-oh, screwed up there. Merge. Oh, you're Serbian, but okay. Where do you live? Where are you located right now, Mr. Expat? Is the Red Scare still present in the United States? Oh, absolutely. They don't call it the Red Scare anymore, but there's been, you know, especially recently, you know, the communism and Marxism and the socialists, you know. I'm gonna wait for the strawberries on the right to merge. The key to this is patience, I found. to get past one watermelon. Which is our goal. Even as a European, I will hope that Vivek doesn't win. Yeah, Vivek is just he dropped out already, so he's no longer running for president. Vivek is crazy. So tomorrow I'm going to be sworn in as a U.S. citizen, so I'll be able to vote in this next presidential election. I'm going to have to register to vote. And it's pretty important because Georgia is quote-unquote a swing state. So it's going to be pretty important, my vote. And I'll be covering the whole election all the way, baby. Okay, I'm just going to let things move and merge right now. Wait. Yeah. He dropped out because he's just obviously he's not going to win, but he immediately endorsed Trump, and he's vying for a VP position, but he's never going to be VP. Like literally, like Republicans are so racist that they're not going to vote for him. It's just going to make Trump's chances worse. Like literally, like there was this guy, I talked about this guy yesterday, was asked like, why aren't you voting for Vivek? He's like, well, I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but 9/11 is still fresh in my mind. It still has like a big impact. And everyone's just like, this is insane. This is a typical boomer Fox viewer or Newsmax viewer who can't tell different races apart. He's Indian. He didn't do 9/11. It's ridiculous. Didn't Vivek want to start military? Yeah, he probably did. He's crazy. All the Republicans want to start a war in Mexico. They hate Mexicans, and they hate anybody who's not white. They hate Asians. They call it the China virus, even though it definitely originated in China, but I think it's unfair to call it a China virus because that encourages racism. I was born, obviously you guys know I was born in Hong Kong, and I lived through, this is a SARS virus, COVID is SARS-2. I lived through the SARS-1. Now SARS-1 never became a pandemic around the world, but it was an epidemic locally in Asia that they managed to contain. But the lethality of SARS-1 was much higher. I was very young when this happened. I remember schools closing and us having to wear masks. I remember that they were on TV, that they were wheeling bodies out of apartment complexes in white bags. Like the lethality of SARS-1 was way higher than SARS-2, which is COVID. But I think it killed too fast that it couldn't become a pandemic. So I guess the virus learned and evolved and became less deadly but more infectious. And so by sheer numbers it killed more people, because even though it was less lethal, like less amount of percentage of people who got it died, the sheer amount of people who got it was way more. Dang, I'm gonna bust, man. I'm not gonna get 2 watermelons. Let's go. I'm sad. That makes me sad. Oh man, fuck. That reminds me of white supremacists from France who traveled to Russia and they thought he was an Arab. Like, the concept of white changes from, like, depending on how far, like, in every country. Like, People in America don't think Jews and Italians are white, but if you go anywhere in Asia and you like ask, like, and you present an Italian and a Jewish person, they're gonna all be considered white. You know? By the way, have you heard of Milei, the new president of Argentina? He is an interesting political figure. No, I have not been following Argentina. Tell me more. I've just been busy with all of the American BS and Middle East wars. Concept of white is exclusionary. Anarcho-capitalist? That's so interesting. How does that even work? How does that work? I don't understand. Does he self-identify as an anarcho-capitalist? Like, how does that work? Don't anarchists not believe in any institutions? That doesn't work with capitalism. This will either lead to an economic miracle or to absolute catastrophe, nothing in between. Well, who knows? Are there checks and balances in Argentina? How's the government? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. How is the government structured? Like in the U.S., there's checks and balances, right? The effectiveness of it can be debated. But it's built into the government. I don't know if that's the case in Argentina. Yes, he claims himself to be an anarcho-capitalist. I don't understand that. Like, I feel like that doesn't make sense. I feel like you can't both be an anarchist and a capitalist. Like, that doesn't make sense at all. Did he win by a big margin? And what did he run on? Like, what does he want to do with the country? Come on, come on. This is so... Look at what I have on stream right now. On screen. Anarcho-cap... Wait. Argentina until now has been doing... Since always, the people vote him in hope that something will change. Anarcho-capitalists believe that the governments are corrupt and that markets should guide the world. Yeah. Well, I don't think pure markets can govern. So they're kind of almost like libertarian. Like, I don't think that, like, unfettered capitalism doesn't work. It spirals into late stage capitalism, similar to the U.S. But the U.S., like, capitalism needs to be tempered by some socialism to work, in my opinion. And that's why I'm a SOCDEM, I think. Unless the definition of SOCDEM is changed, which could very much be the case. But the last time I checked, my views align with SOCDEM's. But a lot of leftists always like purity test each other, and if you're not left-wing enough, all sockdabs are the same as like liberals. And all liberals, like everyone who's not like a full-on communist or socialist is a liberal. Like that's the problem with the left, right? We infight, and that's why we never win. So I'm on a mission. One of my missions is to like help leftists be not infight, so that we can win. Like, it's okay to have, like, different degrees of leftiness. We probably agree on more things than disagree, so it's kind of like trying to get people to understand that. Anarcho-capitalism is a radical ideology in the very corner of the political compass. Yep. It sounds pretty extreme to me. And I think it's pretty silly. I think it's pretty naive to think that problems in the world can be solved by relying on the markets to rule. It doesn't take into account greed. So I think it's really stupid. But that's just me. I screwed up. I screwed up. Oh my goodness. Oh, they don't believe in fixing the world. They believe in getting money. Well, then, yeah. But then how does that work with helping with corruption? That doesn't make any sense. Like government corruption, money and greed. That doesn't make any sense. But then again, a lot of people don't vote with like their minds. They vote with like what politicians say they will do, but never do. And misrepresent their views and things like that. Oh man, politics is so like... Trying to make Argentina his personal company to get in the world stage. That's crazy. To run a country like a company? No, no. No, no, no from me. That's a big no for me. I think that's wrong. He'll fail. He can't do that. He can't run it. A country cannot be run like a company to be successful. And what is success by its metrics, right? Oh my god, I have 4 pink. How have none of them merged? How? I'm just gonna see if I let it go for a second, see if they'll merge. Well, thanks for educating me on what's going on in Argentina. Interesting. Why? Why would they think that about China? I definitely don't think China think that he's a big threat. focused on Taiwan and the US. Oh, screwed up. Darn, I screwed up again. I'm gonna see if that drops. If he succeeds, then he will turn the entire political spectrum upside down. He's not gonna succeed. He's not gonna succeed. He's not gonna succeed. I feel bad because I think he's gonna make the country, the Argentinian country, worse. And people are gonna suffer more. That's sad. Lying politicians, what's new? The only constant in life is change. And the fact that politicians lie. China's authoritarian communist state, while anarcho-capitalism is the complete opposite. If he succeeds, he will turn things around. No. No, he will not succeed. The US and China will both make sure of that. And I don't even think they need to like intervene, because I just think that anarcho-capitalism just doesn't work. Does he have plans on making his military the most powerful on Earth, or one of the most powerful on Earth, increasing military spending? Because that's the only way that people are going to listen to you. If you have nukes and a good military. Does Argentina have nukes? If not, then no one's going to listen to you. That's just how it works. Just how the world burns. It's not gonna work. I don't think he's an anarcho-capitalist. I think he's just a capitalist. He's just trying to brand himself differently. Running a country like a company, that's capitalism 101. Letting the markets decide everything, that's runaway capitalist. There's no anarchy in that. Doesn't matter. I don't think he's going to succeed. And why do you think that the US would benefit? The US doesn't benefit anything from Argentina. Oh my goodness me. Are you like pro anarchy capitalism or whatever, running a country like a capitalist, like a company? Because it seems like you're kind of defending him right now. And defending that system and vision of running a country like a company, which is really screwed up. What about the people that are left behind, the poor? People who aren't making the government money? What happens to them? They just die and starve. Oh, fuck. Then why are you defending? It doesn't matter that he changed it to the US dollar. Tons of countries. The US dollar is like the world currency. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I'm just letting you know it's not a workout. Alright. Let's see some Hasan drama. Yeah. Alright.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show.
Dude, YouTube is unusable. Charlie, made a video on this, and his theory is that when you have ad blockers on, YouTube is actively making it so that it is like super buffering and like unusable and very annoying. But once he tried this, he did an experiment and asked his friends and stuff like that, that like when he turns off the ad blockers, no issues.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. We got a
Suck
lot of
them
news
too?
to talk about
Great.
today. We've got the Hasan Piker Tim Houthi Chalamet scandal, with people saying he's platforming a terrorist. We've got this bizarre baby-making scam. What just got exposed with these assisted living facilities will shock you. There's even more, so buckle up and let's just jump into it. Starting with this mom in Ohio says police flashbanged her damn baby after raiding the wrong house, which they did even after being told it was the wrong house. Right, so this is
Of course they
the
did.
mom, Courtney Price. And for the past 17
What's new
months, she's
about
been doing
cops?
her best to take care of her infant son, Waylon. He's a little baby.
American
He was born premature,
cops.
just 1 pound, 2 ounces. And now he suffers from a
American
serious
cops.
lung disease, pulmonary hypertension, as well as having a hole in his heart. So while they're waiting for this surgery related to his heart defect, his mom and her little son are staying with her aunt, Rita Jennings, who lives in Elyria, Ohio. And as it turns out, a former tenant who lived in the house a year ago was wanted by the police. And at that time, she says the cops have shown up at her door 5 times looking for the suspect. She keeps telling them they do not live here. But apparently, the cops just don't believe them because they showed up again this month. Except this
What's
time,
new with
Jennings was at
life
work. And the only people inside were
America?
Courtney and Waylon. Thanks to body cam footage, we see the cops rush up to the front door, guns drawn, and they yell this.
Police search warrant, come to the door! Police search warrant, come to the door!
Giving Courtney about 5 seconds to even think, much less
5
open the door before they
seconds?
then do this.
This is such cop activity.
Police search warrant!
This is cop activity.
You're good, man, come in, put your hands up!
That loud explosion you heard, it wasn't the battering ram smashing in the door. It was an officer detonating a flashbang grenade, which if the name didn't tip you off, produces this blinding flash and a loud bang. You also heard some glass shattering because the cops broke 2 windows. And that included one outside the room where Waylon was sitting below in his swing, hooked up to a ventilator. So this is where things get
this
very
is
messy.
insane.
Because while Courtney
This makes
claimed
me
the
so
grenade flew
mad.
through the window,
This
the video
makes
actually
me
shows
like.
the cops setting it off right outside.
This
Still, you have
makes
Courtney
me-
claiming the glass
makes it
showered
so
down
hard
on
not
the
to
baby
swear.
and smoke filled the room with her telling 19 News.
I didn't know what to do because there was guns pointed at me. I wanted to run to him, but I knew if I ran to him, I would
They're gonna
get
shoot
a
you.
shot. They dragged me out of the house, put me in handcuffs. I kept screaming, my baby, he's on a ventilator, my baby's in here.
And so eventually, the cops unhandcuff her, they let her back inside. A police statement saying, Elyria police detectives, Elyria fire paramedics, and the mother assessed the condition of the child, confirming that the child did not sustain any apparent visible injuries. And going on to say that the child's mother informed detectives that she intended on taking the child to the hospital due to the child's pre-existing illness unrelated to the tactical operation. So according to the police, an ambulance arrived.
I'm gonna try
paramedics
this now,
assessed Waylon,
guys.
and they took him to the hospital.
See
Courtney
if
saying
it's
that he
any
was sent
good.
home that night, but the next morning, his blood oxygen level dropped dangerously low, so she rushed him back. And according to her, Waylon was diagnosed with chemical pneumonitis from the chemicals in the flashbang. Jennings telling WJW, the baby is now in the ICU. He's got burns all over him. Inside of his lungs are burned. He was on his ventilator and saying they let the baby lay there for about 35 to 45 minutes in the smoke.
did
Then
good,
in response
guys,
to all
I
this, the
did
police
good.
department put out a statement defending itself, saying diversionary devices, right, flashbang, do not produce a continuous burn, and they do not deploy or contain any pepper gas or chemical agents. And saying any allegations suggesting the child was exposed to chemical agents, lack of medical attention, or negligence is not true. So now you have the city's mayor saying the allegations are extreme and deeply concerning, and he's ordered a complete review of the incident. But either
That's
way,
really good.
regarding like what actually happened during the raid, the family
know
is saying
some
they're moving to a new
modifications
home
that I'm
next
gonna
week because
do.
they don't feel safe anymore. And adding that they're also planning to take legal action against the department. But all in all, we're gonna have
But
to wait
it's
to see
good.
how things play out, because while this is all one thing, there's actually 2 things at play. Or just by itself, there is the raiding of the wrong house. There's even audio where you hear one of the cops say,
Oh, it's a long house.
and then secondly, there's a situation about what actually happened with the flashbang and the health of the baby. And so with all that said, I gotta ask you, what are your thoughts here? And then in social media news connected to real world news, there are people fighting about...
Philip DeFranco is the king of both sides sitting on the fence so that I stay advertiser friendly and don't anger as many people as possible. But that is so frustrating. The fact that he both sides everything.
but a question. Is Hasan Piker platforming terrorism? That's what a chunk of the
There you
internet is
go.
fighting about right now, and it's all because of a person that the internet has dubbed Tim Houthi Chalamet. Right? We've talked in greater detail about the Houthis in TikToks, even in yesterday's show and others. But the
doesn't look like
oversimplified
Timothy
TLDR,
Chalamet.
in case this is the first video that you stumbled upon where I'm talking about it, is that they're a Yemeni rebel group. They recently attacked ships in the Red Sea in response to Israel's attacks on Gaza. And very notably, that has included U.S. vessels. So actually, as of this morning, Biden has redesignated the Houthis as terrorists, which is very big because he previously removed them from that list. But this is the Houthi leaders have defended their actions, saying they're doing what they're doing to support the Palestinian
new?
people and to pressure Israel and its allies to end the war. And so all of that bringing us to Tim Houthi. But you might actually recognize from his viral videos like this one, with one person sharing it on Twitter with a caption, Yemeni pirates posting casual TikToks while the entire Western Imperial Corps are having a meltdown about their blockade on their ships is the funniest shit of 2024, surely. New Advice actually doing a piece on, identifying him as Rashid al-Haddad, noting that in that clip, he's on the Galaxy Leader, which is a cargo ship seized last year by the Houthis. But they also said that there's no clear evidence that he was actually part of the raid that captured the ship, but he did post photos of him in gear and carrying weapons, so people online have called him a pirate. And yesterday, political commentator Hasan Piker actually interviewed him on his stream, saying in a later post, I interviewed the Yemeni, quote, pirate yesterday, and all he cares about is freeing Palestine. Turns out he's not part of any militancy, according to him, and is 19. Spent most of his life being bombed, so he welcomes
19?
all who defend Palestine no matter their background. And right off the bat, with the way that Hasan started the interview, you had people accusing him of trying to baby girlify a terrorist. Because Hasan asks him if he's seen the anime One Piece, and then actually comparing the Houthis to the show's main character.
We think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing...
Okay. The art of interviewing. Hasan's not the perfect guy, okay? We'll give him that. Hi, Zeus! Yes, he is kind of hot. Not the hottest, but he is kind of hot for a pirate. Okay. A lot of people hate on Hasan because they're not charitable to him and they don't understand his humor. And then on top of that, he's using the One Piece thing to try to convey in an interview, this is how you do it, to make sure that they're open and they don't become defensive and close off. He's trying to establish like an open conversation to let him know that, hey, I'm not here to just attack you. But it was an off. I do agree that with people who were like criticizing him, that it was a very distasteful way to you just ate dinner? Oh, awesome. What time is it where you are? It's a very distasteful way. He could have done it in a different way. He could have like established rapport and the friendly nature and environment of this interview in a different way rather than using something like One Piece. I think it's a misunderstanding and uncharitability from people, but let's keep watching.
What Luffy would do.
Hasan also asking if he's part of a militancy or just a TikToker, to which he said through his interpreter.
His answer is a Yemeni who stands with Palestine.
Hasan then asking him what compelled him to actually go on the ships, as well as other questions about news coverage about the situation and motivations behind it.
Says he likes adventures and he is a big supporter of Palestine. Just reiterating that the cause is to cause disruption to the shipments that Americans have interest in until they stop bombing Gaza, and that if they weren't affected by it, then they wouldn't retaliate on Yemen.
And in this, there are also other bits unrelated to the conflict, or things like what is life like in Yemen, what other TV shows that he watches, stuff like that. And so with all this, depending on where you went online, you had people having drastically different reactions. There was a lot of backlash, people saying Hasan was platforming a terrorist, people honing in on that whole One Piece comparison, saying that's brain rot. Actually, one of the most viral reactions of that being from political commentator Destiny.
Dude,
Of course.
we think...
Destiny and Hasan hate each other, even though they're technically both on the left. I don't think Destiny is really on the left, but he likes to brand himself to be on the left. And this is coming from a person who doesn't like it when lefties infight when they're not left enough. But the things that Destiny says is not in line with any whatsoever left-wing people. No matter how left-wing you are. He openly admits that he is an Islamophobic person. That is not in line with anybody who is on the left-wing spectrum, even if you're a moderate left-leaner. So I think he maybe started off as a left-winger and then he just changed his views, maybe for money, or maybe he just naturally changed his views, as he lived his life. But you can Google that. You can be anti-religion, but it's like personally, proudly saying with your chest that I'm Islamophobic. That is not a left-wing person right there. Maybe he used to be, but they hate each other. So I'm not surprised one of the loudest critics of what Hasan did is Destiny.
The Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
God, he's so cringe. He's like such a cringe loser. I would pay so well. We'd raise $1 million.
This is literally right off the bat. He's just ad hominem attacks to Hasan. Right off the bat. Let's see what else he has to say.
To send this dude to go fight in Yemen, and then all of us would volunteer for the Navy. Holy shit, he's such a
So okay, now after attacking him personally, now he's saying, oh, let's send this dude to Yemen so that we can murder him. So he's not even criticizing like what he did in the interview, like such as like what Philip DeFranco said about like maybe a distasteful joke to establish rapport in an interview. He's not even addressing that. It's just ad hominems and then saying we should murder him. What happened when I was away? Did the Houthi guy said something interesting? Not that I know of. This is just like drama about what people think about Hasan interviewing the Houthi guy. It's not this just for creating a narrative like some rappers do to create a new audience. Can you rephrase that, Zeus?
cringe, LARPing loser. I cannot believe, like, nobody in the history, no fascist ever could have dreamed of such an amazing representation of socialism as the most anti-American, like, pro-Islamic terrorist, Turkish immigrant loser that is, like, cheering on attacks.
Okay, now Destiny is even attacking him for being an immigrant, and then attacking him for being Turkish. So, like, all of these things, these are not what left-wing people say. So maybe Destiny, at one point in his career, in the beginning, maybe he was considered leftist, if I remember correctly. But he is no longer on the left, no matter what he says about himself. And like I said, I'm okay with some people being less lefty. Like, I'm okay with liberals identify being on the left, even though they're not as left as I am, but I'm not as left as Hasan. But everything that Destiny does nowadays, it's not in line with even liberals. It's kind of ironic because Turkey has the most immigrants in the entire world.
On some
Really?
merchant ships as this multi-millionaire guy living in West Hollywood.
On the other side of this, you had people defending Hasan, saying that Hasan is actually doing the public an enormous service by speaking to a regular Yemeni guy with regular hopes, dreams, and hobbies, and asking, where were you for the past 10 years when the Yemeni people lost lives and limbs just for the crime of existing? Another saying that the interview is actually amazing, with Hasan humanizing him and wanting us to understand that he is just a normal Yemeni teen. But with all that said, I gotta pass the question off to you. Where do you land on this? I know there's two camps. I don't know if there's a third where you're landing somewhere in between. But what do you think about the platforming and interview?
This is what I mean. This is classic Philip DeFranco, like, both sizing everything and not saying what he actually believes. It's so annoying.
What do you think about the reactions? What do you think about any and all of it, and why? Let me know in
have
those
a
comments
point
down
of
below.
view,
And then there's
man.
even more news that we gotta talk about today, but I gotta take a second to pay some bills. Because let's face it, after all the holiday indulgence, traveling, maybe not sticking to your routine, might be time to get back
I'm
on
sure
track.
Zeus, he does have an opinion about that. I just haven't paid attention to it. Like, if he said it, it might have been in passing. But I'm sure he has a stance on something like that, especially when it comes to Turks.
Your gut health is so important, especially when it comes to your immune system. With all the viruses on overdrive right now, this is a great time to start a healthy habit with a fantastic sponsor of today's show.
Oh, God. So last night, I watched a video from Bausch. It was an hour long. So we're not going to watch all of it. I'm going to push it until later in the stream. He analyzes, let me see here. Remember Leftovers from H3H3? But they had to end this podcast, which I loved, because Ethan is Jewish and he's more of a liberal. He's a capitalist. He's not, but he's also left wing. He's not full on capitalist, crazy capitalist. So, but they had, when the war began in Israel and Gaza, they just couldn't work together anymore, because I think one of the biggest reasons was that Hasan's like moderators were really bad to Ethan, and he was probably getting death threats, and like his mods were like insulting Ethan and like encouraging like his Discord and Reddit people to like threaten and harass Ethan and his wife, who his wife was also served in the IDF, like it's mandatory. But if you watched Leftovers, the few episodes that they had at the end, towards the end of the reign of the podcast, where they talk about the war, Ethan is very, very charitable. He's not blindly pro-Israel. If anything, he's the most like public figure that is Jewish, that is charitable to the Palestinian plight and the suffering of Palestinians. He's donated a lot of money to them as well. So like, I actually feel like Ethan said he's a social democrat. Yeah, I think he's a little bit more capitalist than I am, but he can identify as a social dem. I'm okay with that. I think he's left wing for sure. Unlike Destiny. Wait, who streams for hours every day? They both do. They both stream for hours every day. But the point is that I watched this last night because I know Taiwan came up yesterday on yesterday's streams, and Vaush is analyzing Hasan's answers to Ethan's question about Taiwan on the Leftovers podcast. And it's very interesting. I was a big Leftovers watcher, but I don't remember this moment. But Vaush is based, and I think the reason why Hasan has, there's multiple reasons why, but one of the reasons why he's still so he's so hesitant to be like too pro Taiwan and say things that are not pro China enough is because he wants to visit China. And he knows that him being an American, that he's going to get his visa revoked or not be able to get a visa to visit China, which he loves, and wants to visit, if he says things that are too pro-Taiwan, because before the Chinese grant visas, especially to Americans, they do a deep dive, especially if you're a public figure, to see if you said anything bad about the Chinese. And if his stance on Taiwan is inaccurate according to the Chinese, or not in step with the Chinese, the CCP, or Beijing, as we like to call it, then he's not going to be able to visit the country, which he wants to. And sings a lot of praises to. So, this is a very interesting thing to watch. I don't know. It's a long video, but it's my long stream today, so we'll see. My sister I do have to get off a little bit, maybe like 20 minutes earlier than I usually do, just to like clean up the house a little bit. You know how streaming is, you know? When my sister comes, she's coming, it's almost 1. She should be here at like 5. And I usually stream from 12 to like 5:20. 5:15, but I started earlier today just so that I can kind of make up for it, for maybe streaming until like 4:30, 4:45, just to give myself a little bit of a buffer so I can kind of clean the apartment. Sock camp. Oh yeah, it's so cold. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll take off my socks. I know that if heaven exists, there will be a place for me, because I only notice sock cam when talked about it. Aw, Zeus, that's funny. Aw. I think if you're a good person, you will make it to heaven. Like, I know I'm Catholic, and a lot of staunch Catholics only believe if you're baptized, you will get to heaven. I don't think that's the case. Funeral. I don't really like how Hasan mentioned Israeli baby settlers when talking to Ethan. It didn't sound great. Yes. Agreed. So maybe we should watch that. But let's cover a little bit of foreign policy before we go into that Taiwan analysis. So I'm like analyzing Vosh, analyzing Hasan and Ethan. So it's like multiple levels. Because I do think that I have something valuable that I can add to Vosh's analysis as well. Because I'm actually like from Hong Kong. They mentioned Hong Kong as well. So I feel like I have like a unique perspective to like add. But let's just watch.
The U.S. has launched a new round of strikes against the
more
military
breaking
group
news
attacking ships
first.
in the Red Sea. Those ships are key to the global supply chain. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz has the story. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. These attacks and
Tom, you
counterattacks
missed
all
my
over the
dessert.
Middle East raise fears
I
that
made
the
him a
U.S.
cow
will get
dessert.
sucked into a war they do not want, but the strikes keep coming. This morning, the 5th round of American airstrikes in just a week.
That's
pounding
crazy.
Houthi targets in Yemen. The Pentagon strikes taking out several Houthi anti-ship missiles it said posed an imminent threat to commercial and U.S. Navy ships in the region. A barrage of U.S. Tomahawk missiles destroyed 14 Houthi missiles and launchers earlier this week after Houthi missiles struck
Whoa.
a U.S.-owned ship in the Red Sea.
Whoa.
One of more than 30 ships targeted by the Houthis with missiles and drones in the last few months. President Biden asked if the retaliatory strikes meant to deter the Houthis are working, the president acknowledging the obvious.
When you say working, are they stopping the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes.
Yemen, just one of the flashpoints in this part of the world, blazing red. Iran and Pakistan now trading fire. And with the war in Gaza raging, tensions between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon grow, while militants attack U.S. forces in Syria and Iraq. Our Maggie Rulli is aboard the USS Bataan in...
I personally don't think that the whole Yemen situation has a high risk of going into World War III. But I think if the whole Hezbollah front explodes, that's more dangerous in my opinion. So let's
The
hope that doesn't
Mediterranean.
happen.
There are
But-
more than 2,500 Marines and Navy sailors across the 3 ships in this unit, and they all tell us they are ready to go at a moment's
look at
notice.
all
And
this
area
military
is really
shit
at the core of
stuff.
that mission. An entire area can be flooded. They're able to offload Marines and their equipment from ship to the shore, meaning they can have a major impact.
Those ships all
Dude, this is U.S. military might right here. Okay, so my foreign policy is what a lot of lefties like would push me not so left. It's because of some of my foreign policy beliefs. I'm not crazy, but I'm not crazy like Hillary Clinton. I'm not crazy like the libs. I'm not crazy like Nikki Haley. But I'm definitely not like super pacifist because I'm real. I'm real. Like I understand that at the end of the day, you do need a very, very powerful military. At the end of the day, you know, you can't just like not have a military or like have a not strong military and still expect to be listened to in the world.
also in the region to facilitate possible rescues. And this morning, no sign the exchange of fire in the Red Sea is stopping reports of yet more ships targeted by the Iranian-backed groups. Eva?
Martha Raddatz for us there in Washington. Thanks, Martha.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here.
Okay.
Hey guys, Joe Biden just gave us a very Joe Biden moment. He was asked as he was, I guess, leaving the White House or coming to the White House, are the airstrikes on the Houthis working? And his reaction was, when you say, are they working, is it making them stop? No. But will we continue them? Yes. What do you even say to that? What do you even say to that?
What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, it's complete insanity. Now we're unconstitutionally bombing Yemen repeatedly. I think we've done 4 separate rounds of strikes at
5
this point.
now?
With the knowledge that our actions are not going to achieve the supposedly intended result. Like,
and he just said that. He said that.
Right.
That's not Crystal speaking, that's not me speaking. He just said that.
And in fact, we know it's made things worse. The Houthis have escalated their attacks. Concern about shipping containers over the lives of Palestinian children. Well, guess what? Now that the Red Sea is an even more active war zone, guess what? Shipping containers don't want to transit through there. So you've achieved the exact opposite of your stated goals. And now you're admitting, it's not going to work. It didn't work. It's not going to work. But you're still going to do it. And the reason why is because the obvious solution, which is to achieve a ceasefire and force the Israelis to stop indiscriminately bombing Palestinian civilians. And indiscriminate bombing, by the way, those are Joe Biden's words, not my words, Joe Biden's words. Because you've taken that off the table. Instead, you have to go, don't have to, but have chosen to go through this bizarre pantomime.
I don't know if this is a minivan, but I know Crystal has at least maybe 2 kids, I think. 1 or 2 kids. I don't know if there's any, like... looks like an older car. I don't know if there are any electric or hybrid minivans. Maybe hybrid. Who knows? Yeah, but Americans with their cars, it's I want that to change, but it's a country, like, we don't have trains. We don't really have public transportation, like, that links, like, the whole country together. Like, maybe, like, the Northeast, I think, has the best public transportation in the United States. But that's about it, and it's not even that great.
Time of doing something about the Houthis.
It's one of the reasons why Hasan loves China, is because of the public transportation.
The Hawks pressured you? Like, why? What are we doing? What are we doing?
I mean, Jake made a good point about this. He said, and I'd never read this. Did you read this? That what the name of the mission was to go after the Houthis?
Yeah, I can't remember. Operation Prosperity Guardian.
Which is like, they're literally saying, this is about trade. This is about money. This is about... It's not about lives. It's not about, imminent defense of the nation, which is the bullshit argument they made to try to, skirt around Congress and do it unilaterally. So, I mean, it says it all. The name of what they're doing says it all. But now with Biden coming out there and saying, no, it's not working, but we're going to keep doing it. It's like, okay,
that's so
then what
stupid.
Are we supposed to
why
think
are we wasting
about
money on
why
this?
You're doing it? Either it's the macho man, like, we gotta show them who's
They're
boss
trying to,
type
like,
stuff. Or
take
it's just straight up
heat
like,
away from,
hey, military-industrial
distraction.
complex. There's a lot of war profiteering going on. We gotta keep dropping those bombs. We gotta keep, so we can keep making new ones. You know, like, what are we supposed to think?
Yeah, I mean, those are the only 2 conclusions you can draw, is that it's basically like a foreign policy based on dick swinging. Like, well, they did something to us, so we gotta do something back. Even though clearly the obvious solution to all of this is a ceasefire, but that's off the table, so we just have to do something, even knowing that that something is going to not only not work, but achieve the opposite of the effect that we supposedly want to achieve. There's a New York Times analysis that said, you haven't done anything to damage the Houthis' offensive capabilities, number 1. Number 2, even the Saudis are pissed with us because they were in the middle of a peace process with the Houthis, and they're upset that might be derailed. I was just covering today, Shell has now said also that part of the concern is supposedly like gas prices going up. Well, when we started firing on the Houthis, gas prices immediately shot up because of that added risk and uncertainty, and Shell is saying there's no way we're going to transit through the Red Sea at this point. So it's just complete morons, insanity, psychopathy, like, take your pick, but none of it is any good.
And it would have been, if they had just not done anything vis-a-vis the Houthis, then what would have happened is it still would have been, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the ships that are stopped were going to Israel, right? Every now and then they would try to do it, and it would be like, an Israeli part owner of the ship, but the ship wasn't going to Israel, and so it was like sort of a mistake to go after them, right? But in most cases, it would be, no, there's just going to be less trade with Israel, but we're going to allow the rest to go through. So global trade would only be affected in a limited way. And the kind of blocking that they're doing, I made this point before, is what the U.S. should be doing and what the UN should be doing if we actually gave a shit about international law and human rights and protecting Palestinian babies from being carpet bombed. We would be doing what the Houthis were doing, and we'd be doing it in a high-tech way to make sure we always stop the right ships, etc. But instead now, they decide
I'm getting
to bomb,
car sick.
and then now more ships are being stopped. Now the whole route is shut down for everybody because it's an active war zone. And then Biden comes out himself and says, is it working in the sense that they're stopping? No. But will we continue? Yes.
That makes no
amazing,
sense.
Man. That's amazing.
But it makes
How does
sense
he let
for
those
the
words come out of
libs.
his mouth without realizing,
On
oh my
TV.
God, I'm undermining my entire philosophy on this thing in a matter of 12 seconds.
I'm actually getting
to get
car
the
sick,
words out of my
so
mouth.
we're gonna... I'm actually getting car sick, so... I'm not even exaggerating to make a point. Like, I'm actually getting car sick. Okay, apparently, the NPR is, like, covering for Biden or something, because they always like to say... Like, the Biden administration always likes to say, oh, like, we've been telling them to be more humane, follow laws, you know, be more, like, cognizant of, like citizen, like, casualties, civilian casualties. But it's all talk. And then now you got, like, NPR and, like, legacy media running defense for Biden. How, like, oh, they're having a rift. But it's all just talk. It's like, it's not, like, if they really were having a rift, Biden would put pressure and Netanyahu would have to listen, because he had his military, the Israeli military, is the American military. Like, the IDF, like, is funded by our weapons and trained by us, you know?
Winter storms are still walloping much of the U.S. from
Whoa, that was not the voice that I thought was going to come out of her. But okay.
Jersey to the Pacific Northwest, and a rift is deepening between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I hate that voice. That, like, legacy media people, like, will put on, like, for TV. Like, they have this specific way of speaking. And it's like, who made it so that you have to speak like that to sound like legacy media or, like, establishment media? And, like, where is this accent? Like, nobody in the U.S. speaks like this. Like, how is this accent, like, established?
Yahoo and the Biden administration. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Forecasters say winter storms are still walloping parts of the U.S. Warnings are up from the Midwest to West Virginia to New Jersey. There's a ground stop at Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C.
Yep.
In the central U.S., wind chill values are far below zero. In the Pacific Northwest, National Weather Service meteorologist Zach Taylor says another winter storm will bring fresh ice to the region.
Overall, the ice accumulation should be relatively on the lighter side, but anytime you see any kind of ice accumulations on power lines and roads and
hoping
things
that
like that,
it's
it
gonna
could
fall
continue some of the
next
hazardous
weekend,
travel.
The tracking site poweroutage.us says more than 100,000 customers in Oregon have lost electricity. Despite the wintry weather in the nation's capital, anti-abortion activists will gather today for their annual March for Life. This began to oppose the Supreme Court's Roe decision legalizing abortion. That decision has been overturned. 16 states now severely restrict abortion, but data suggests that in the year after Roe was ended, abortions in the U.S. increased. A rift is deepening between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Biden administration amid the Gaza war. A similar rift is growing in Netanyahu's own war cabinet, as NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv.
Netanyahu rejects the idea of a future Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza. Netanyahu said in a press conference, Israel must hold security control over the entire territory, and he rejected the idea of...
But I just watched a part of the Israeli ICJ defense in English. They never say this in in Hebrew, they always say different things to when they talk in English. In English, they always talk about being pacifist. They always talk about, oh, we don't want to occupy Gaza, you know, blah 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 blah. But then in Hebrew, they'll talk about, oh, we want to take hold of the land, like we want to like re-educate the people, we want to do all this stuff. And like what they don't realize that today people have Google Translate, and it's much easier to see through this type of propaganda just because you're not saying it in the language. Like, people can translate these days. So, like, when the South Africans proposed their case for Israeli genocide, all they did was just to have to translate and show all of these videos that the Israeli government have been saying. It's just like case in point laid out for them. Yeah, he is pro-war. He is a hawkish, right-wing pro-war.
Palestinian sovereignty. In response, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller says countries have committed to helping rebuild Gaza after the war only if there's a path to a Palestinian state. Also,
But
a senior
Israel
official
says
associated
no.
with Israel's war cabinet,
So,
Gadi
how's that gonna
Eisenkot,
work?
is publicly opposing Netanyahu's
Yet
claim
we're still
that
funding
continued
them.
military bombardment in Gaza is needed to lead to a hostage release deal. He told Israeli TV that only a ceasefire deal can release Hamas's remaining Israeli hostages. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
Former New Jersey Governor
Can
Chris
be a bad
Christie is
take,
out of the
but
GOP presidential.
But in other to a person have full rights in terms of access to education, healthcare. They should service in the military, both men's and women's. It's a duty to be prepared to defend the nation, even if it's just for a small period, like 6 months. I mean, that's your point of view. If you're looking for a mandatory draft, mandatory service, but serving in the military is not mandatory. You have to sign up for the military, but you don't have to serve in the U.S. And we still have the most powerful and ready military in the world. So I don't think it's like necessary to mandate every single person serve in the military. I think you can have a powerful military even without the mandate that everybody has to serve in the military. Both Israel and Palestine are not supportive of the two-state solution right now, so there's no reason to suggest it. Yeah, the two-state solution is just like the Western, like, PC way of saying the plan for the day after the war ends. Clearly doesn't work, clearly didn't work. But that's just what the Biden administration and the Western world have landed on, two-state solution. I mean, look at what's happening in the West Bank and all the settlers there. Clearly not working. And the West Bank, there is no Hamas there. Yet they're still being settled on and kicked out of their land. And it's been recognized by international countries, nations, states, that the West Bank is Palestinian land. And that they have condemned Israeli settlers. But there's no check or balance, so they can just do whatever they want. So that's my take, Zeus, on the military thingy. I mean, sure. I don't think it should be like, a government should be like, if you don't serve in the military, you can't have education, you can't have healthcare. I think healthcare is a basic human right. So I don't think you can, like, blackmail people. Like, you're gonna die if you don't serve in the military. And like I said, the U.S. has the most powerful military in the world, and we don't have mandatory military service, so it can be done. Both Israel and I already read that. Okay.
Contest and supporters are looking for another option. NPR's Tamara Keith reports from New Hampshire.
They knew he didn't have much of a shot at winning the nomination, but they liked his willingness to take on former President Trump directly and figured Christie would hang on at least through the New Hampshire primary.
Fun.
Now most Christie supporters we spoke to are giving former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley a closer look. That includes Alan Castellano.
Well, since Christie is no longer in the race, this is my next choice.
Castellano is an independent who voted for Trump in 2016, but fears what it would mean for the country if he's elected again. Tamara Keith, NPR News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
You're listening to NPR News.
That's not what I heard, funeral. They don't control the West Bank, at least. That's not what I heard from a lot of different people, in the sense that Hamas is not in the West Bank. Okay, so then, yeah, there's no argument. Even if I give you that argument that there is Hamas in the West Bank, which I'm not really sure there is, but even if I grant you that, there is no argument if they're not in control of the West Bank. There's no argument from the IDF and the Israeli government that, like, they can, like, just kick people out and settle in the West Bank. It's just not their land. It's like, if it's a sovereign country, you can't just, like, go into their country and be like, I don't like the people that you elected to head your country, therefore, like, we get to take your land. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. Let's watch a couple of... Okay, we have to watch a Joe
That's
Rogan,
the better
but
direction
we
for
have to
society.
watch
Better,
this.
better than propping up cartels.
We have to watch this
We've
brain
got this
rot.
fucking thing that's happening right across our border.
Ever
where
since he moved to Texas, he's, like, changed.
there's immense
This dude
organizations
used to be a
that
Bernie
have
supporter.
insane amounts of money because they've been selling drugs that are illegal in America.
Yeah, they're like warlords.
Yeah, legit warlords.
Yeah, it's,
Well, let's
there's some of
legalize
those
weed, then.
property owners down there. I don't know how they're dealing with that.
Bro, I was just watching this
Settlements
video
are bad.
today of this guy who
Settlements
lives
are
on the
bad,
border.
funeral
And
settlements are
they're
bad.
dealing with all these people that come across the border that are smuggling drugs, and it's fucking dangerous. He's like, you can't approach them, can't go anywhere near them. You have no idea what they're carrying. You have no idea who they are, or what they're doing, or who they work for. And he's like, it's terrifying. They're just traveling across your property with a backpack, and, you know, and you just gotta just let it happen.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, I played a show down in San Antonio, and there was a rancher there at the show, and we were talking afterwards, and he said, and this would have been like right around that time. This had just happened.
So much
this is
fear-mongering
April
about
21.
like Mexico,
He said
Mexicans,
one of his best
border
friends, who's also a
crisis.
rancher, got a bunch of feds rolled up to their house one day and put him and his family on house arrest for 2 days without any explanation as to why. And then 2 days go by, and they say, okay, it's all good. You know, we're so sorry for the inconvenience. And the guy's like, whoa. You can't just, you get, there has to be an explanation here. And I guess, you know, I don't know if I'm not getting somebody in trouble here, but the guy's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there are 9 insurgents and that had crossed the border, and we, you know, just so happened to get them here on your property.
Holy
shit. When I bet the feds were probably watching them, and then when they decided to actually take them, it must have been on this guy's ranch. Wow. So yeah, I mean, you got your kids are out maybe doing a chore on your ranch, on your own farm. So yeah, you got thousands of acres or something, and who knows what you could be running into.
Have you seen?
Yeah, you could also be running into a bear, an animal, or a coyote, or whatever. Like, what the fuck? Like, and the government should be telling you if they're putting you on house arrest, that's taking away your freedom. They should be telling you that, hey, we think that this is what's happening. Stay inside. Like, what? Why is this, like, hush-hush? You know?
Some videos of the migration lines moving, not just
these
in
people
Mexico.
are
They're
super
moving from
pro-police, but
South
they just
America
violated their freedoms.
through Mexico into the United States?
I saw the ones from like a few years back, but I've almost like tuned out.
The numbers
They're doing
are
it again
insane.
and stuff.
The numbers are insane. Somebody just released a graph that shows the numbers of illegal aliens over the last year in comparison to previous years. So it's like you see the graph and it's like 2014, 2015, 2016, and it gets to 2021. It's just like, yikes! There's more illegals have made it into this country over the last year, I believe, than are people that live in.
You know what I would bet money on? That Joe doesn't even know that, like, he's just so blindly, like, blind about this border crisis. He doesn't even know that when Biden was the VP of Obama is nicknamed Deporter-in-Chief because he's deported more immigrants than any other president, modern president. Okay? And he probably doesn't know that. He's probably like, oh, these Democrats, they're all the same, all for open borders. But I bet he doesn't know that. He's deported more people than Trump, Bush.
5 different states legally.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
West
Which 5 states? Iowa, Montana, tiny states? Which 5 states, Joe? Which 5 states?
1.8 million on a real good year, maybe. It's probably a little less than that. And
there's a lot more illegal aliens every year coming into. I mean, what's the number per month now?
What's the fix for something like that?
And he doesn't even know, like, illegal immigrants,
if you
it's
want to
not,
fix it. It doesn't seem like
illegal immigrants, like, it's not because of the border. There's, the system is so screwed up. There are so many inefficiencies and redundancies. We need to revamp the system, to make it more efficient so that we can actually, like, do the paperwork and make these people legal. A. B. The majority of the people who are illegal in this country are not coming from the border. They are overstaying their visas. Whether that's a tourist visa, a student visa, they're coming from air, not land. And also, what about the northern border? There are people who do that too in the north. It's an issue too. And not a small one, not an insignificant amount of number. But they only really care about the South because they're not white and they're not wealthy. People who fly in and manage to get a tourist visa or a student visa, you have to be a certain level of wealthy in order to get that, because when you get any type of visa to America, you have to show your financials. If you don't have enough money and you're not like, and they don't deem you like speak enough English, or if you don't have the ticket back or sufficient ties back to your home country, but specifically money, you have to show your bank accounts and stuff like that. They're not going to give you a visa. So it's both socioeconomically and racist, on a racist basis, that like they only really care about the poor and the Mexicans and the South Americans and the Central Americans from the South. The fear mongering from that. Where's the actual data about how the people overstay the visas from flying in just because they're richer, you know, and got into the country legally, but lost their legal status and became illegal because they overstayed their visa?
They want to fix it. Like AOC was on TV the other day doing an interview, and she was saying, you know, she was calling them undocumented people, and the way to do it is to give them a path to citizenship. Well, how about you know who the fuck they are? Because if you're a person from another country, say if you're in Europe and you want to come to America and become an American citizen, you know, you're an architect or whatever, this is like a long, lengthy process. And they only take a certain amount of people every year, and you have to prove that you have a skill. There's a reason why you should be here.
So you have to be rich
legally
enough.
Yeah. But if you want to do it illegally, they'll give you money.
Enough,
they'll give you a cell phone.
Rich enough and safe enough, like where you're not fleeing violence, and then you can wait, presupposing that you can wait in your own country and make a living before you can come here. Like that's discriminatory. Like, I was lucky enough to be able to do it the legal way, but I know that a lot of people can't afford to do that or don't have the time to do that because they're fleeing violence. And yes, Suze, I do think that immigration will always be an issue, and that's why I believe in borders. I don't believe in open borders like how Republicans always say Democrats are open borders. That's not the case. We just have a different approach to the border, to the immigration issue.
There's people in Mexico. What they're doing is, this is pretty wild, because there's a radio station in San Diego that is a Mexican radio station. This guy was on the Mexican radio station, is explaining how we do it. He's like, he's gone back 4 times that month. So every time he crosses over, he gets $2,000. He's
gaming it.
So he's gaming. He made $8,000 in a month from the federal government.
There's always going to be people like this.
What do? You set up, because back in the day, you know, when there's, you know, I don't know everything, obviously, but like maybe the similar time in American history would have been the early 1900s. And you had all those Europeans coming over on the boats to work over in the U.S.
That's how my family got here.
Yeah, and everybody went through Ellis Island or somewhere like it where you go in and you got some sort of papers.
Yeah, it was pretty easy.
And
honestly.
yeah, and
it was pretty easy
at least
back then.
You know, they got you, like they got a name.
Yeah.
And
well, not even. They got it. People changed it.
Yeah, they changed it right there if it was like too hard to pronounce.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's a lot of people do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah. It was
My bass
easier
player's
back
last
then.
name,
It was
got
easier. Literally, you guys would say.
I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of people's names got changed. But, you know, that was the law back then. This is not the law. The law is that you're supposed to go through this process where they vet you and they find out if you're a criminal and they find out if you're a terrorist.
The process is wrong. The process
they're not doing that
is
at all. They're just opening the
inefficient.
border and they're essentially
That's not what they're
buying votes.
doing.
Yeah.
If the borders were open, they would not need to smuggle people.
They're letting these people come in and they're assuming these people are going to vote for the
Yes,
Democrats.
I used to like him.
And it's wild. It's wild
It's
that it's
wild.
happening right in front of everybody's eyes, and most people aren't aware of it unless they see these videos. Or, like Elon was telling me that when you go there,
Oh my God.
you really understand the scope of it. He goes, it's extraordinary. He just, you can't believe the numbers of people that are making their way across. It's just insane. It's just, and everyone knows about it. So all these people that live in these, and I don't blame them at all, man. If you're just a regular person that was unfortunate to be born in a terrible environment, and you realize if I can get to America, I can feed my family. I can get a job.
See?
I can work on a farm. I can, whatever it is. I can work in a factory, and we could live in a good way instead of being trapped in this hellhole in which we were just unfortunately born in. Yeah, I get it.
You
I would
gotta
do
go
it too.
for it.
Fuck yeah.
you
If
gotta-
I was in Guatemala, 100% I'd have a backpack.
Yeah.
100% I'd be on that fucking
So why
trek.
is he being
Let's
so,
go.
like,
Yeah, if you get up
mean?
here and get some work and send
like a
money
choice.
home.
How
it'd
many
be-
lazy Americans do we have in this country that just fuck off
Exactly.
and don't want to do jack shit, and they're just fucking... Meanwhile, we got people walking here from Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it. And
Then
that's
why not
the
let
thing,
them
like
in?
back to the COVID thing,
Why not
man,
make a system where it works, where people
there's
can
like a
go
flip the
through the
switch in a
system,
lot of folks' heads
come
from
through,
one end of that to the
be
other
vetted,
with,
rather
you know,
than just
I
be
mean,
like, no.
if you're not where you're at in life, you know, then you're never going to get there half-assing your day.
No.
Wherever you happen to be, it might be the best idea to, like, give it your best.
Yeah.
And that's, like...
It might be the best idea to give it your best. Profound. Profound. It's not that easy. Do the Atlantic travel on a boat is extremely difficult. Plus, you would lose the contact with your family. They're flying. People are flying. You know, these days. And yeah, when you come to America, it's too big for you, then you're not going to leave your family. But I left my family. And I came to America alone, and I had to live, study, and adapt, and grow up by myself with no family members in New York, except for my older sister, but we never lived together. We were never close. And then she also left after undergrad, and I was there alone, no family. But it's the sacrifice I was willing to make. It's the same thing, leaving your family in the past for America, for the opportunity, for the Constitution, for the freedom. It's just the sacrifice. If you're willing to make it, then you're going to come here. And some people, like for me, I was barely homesick. I knew I belonged in New York, and I've always wanted to go to New York and live there. And I'll probably die there too. Hopefully not anytime soon, but when Joe Rogan's family came to America, it's not the same because nowadays technology will make them be more close. Doesn't matter. I barely talk to my family. Like, maybe we text once in a while, and more recently, like, we've become more close texting, but like when I first came to America, I barely talked to my family. Never called. Like, just some families operate differently. Like, my roommate will talk to their family like for multiple hours every Sunday. I cannot fathom doing that with my family. That is not a thing that we would do ever. What did Trump say? What did he say? Let's ban everyone who's not white. Let's stop the immigration for everyone who's not white.
Or else you're just going to be a miserable fuck the rest of your life.
Well, that was one thing that happened to a lot of people that was good. They realized that this job that they had that they hated, that just went away. Okay, you know, not only did I fucking hate this job, but I thought it was necessary because it was the only thing that I had. I didn't want to lose it. But then they just fucking took it away from me. God damn it, I'm going to go for my fucking dream.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people did. They went for their dream. They started small businesses. They got their shit together. They lost weight. A lot of people did a lot of very positive things when their back was against the wall.
Preoccupation with, like, they lost weight? I mean, I get it. America's, like, obesity rate is super high. Highest in the world, probably. Maybe second to Australia. But, like, jeez. Joe Rogan is, like, he's high-key, low-key, like, fat-phobic, I'd say. But he wouldn't view himself that way. He would view himself as, like, pro-health. And I do think that he's not maliciously fat-phobic. I think he's inadvertently and unknowingly fat-phobic. And he thinks that fat shaming works. If fat shaming works, no one would be fat.
Well, yeah. And then a lot of people just went on unemployment.
He said that they're poisoning the blood of the nation.
Wanted to get on.
He's not even that
I had friends
skinny.
that were
yeah,
in the bar,
he's like muscular, exactly. And yeah, that sounds like that. I think I heard what you're referring to, funeral. That is like the pure blood situation, right? How like they're dirtying our blood. They're mixing our blood. They're dirtying our blood. It's no longer pure. Aryan kind of sounds like the Nazis, but for some reason the right wing is what the right wing Israeli government love. Always talking about the pure bloods and not. It's like always the bad guys in movies who are always talking about being pure-blooded, and like in Harry Potter, let's say, it's all about like pure-blood wizards, right? You can't be a mudblood. That's a slur, right? And like in real life, it matches up. Like the people who like just aren't for interracial marriage. Like interracial marriage in the U.S. was only really recently legalized in like the 1960s, maybe. Loving versus Virginia. This is the case that legalized interracial marriage in the United States. It happened in 1967. I was correct. So before 1967, people of different races could not marry each other in the United States of America, which is supposed to be the most free and advanced country in the world. Yeah. Uncomfortable scene and anchor reacts to Trump comparing Haley to Hillary Clinton. God, I freaking hate CNN, man. CNN is so dumb. What did Charlie say now?
It's been quite some time since
Middle
then,
school.
because then a couple months later he reaches out again saying, hey, you have kids yet? It's already off to an odd start. They're clearly into their adult years here, and this guy's thinking about her from middle school, and then reaches out a couple months after making initial contact just to ask if she has kids currently. And it only gets more strange from here. She responds saying, hey, I don't have kids yet, why do you ask? He goes, just asking, you have a boyfriend? I do have a boyfriend. Do you have a girlfriend? Can I tell you something? And that's how you know this is about to go straight into the shitter here. That question, can I tell you something?
No sound. I'm gonna have to end stream again.
Seems to proceed.
Okay.